The Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bridges. Buckner. Coleman. Cook. Quorum. Danielson. Donovan. Finberg. Fields.
Excused.
Gardner. Janal. Gonzalez. Hanson. Heisey. Heisey. Holbert. Hawkes Lewis. Kirkmeyer. Kolker. Lee. Liston. Lundin. Moreno. Pedersen. Priola. Rankin. Rodriguez. Scott.
Here.
Simpson. Smallwood. Sonnenberg. Story. Winter. Winter. Woodward. Zenzinger. Mr. President.
Here. With 34 present, morning roll call with 34 present. Zero absent, one excused. We have a quorum. Would the good senator from Longmont please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Mr. President. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the journal of Tuesday, April 13th, 2021 be dispensed with and that the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
April 14th, correctly printed Senate Bills 243, 244, SJR 16, correctly engrossed Senate Bills 72 and 173, correctly revised House Bills 1018, correctly re-revised House Bills 1022, 1047, correctly enrolled Senate Bill 40, 123, and 144.
Committee reports.
April 13th, Committee on Local Government. After consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 204 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. April 13th, Committee on Local Government. After consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following: House Bill 1115 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. April 13th, Committee on Local Government. After consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following: House Bill 1138 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with the recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. April 13th, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following: House Bill 1092 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. April 13th, Committee on Transportation and Energy. After consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 230 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. April 13th, Committee on Transportation and Energy. After consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 231 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. April 13th, Mr. President, the Committee on Transportation and Energy has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends appointments be placed in the consent calendar and confirm member of the Colorado Aeronautical Board for a term expiring December 19, 2022, Charles Tedesco of Commerce City, Colorado, to serve as a representative of a local government that operates airports on the eastern slope, occasioned by the resignation of Amy Miller of Akron, Colorado, appointed.
Third reading of bills, final passage. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1018?
House Bill 1018 by Representative Bennett and Van Bieber and Senators Hawkins Lewis concerning allowing adoptive parents who are parties to adoption assistance agreements to pay for medical services that would otherwise be reimbursable under the medical assistance program.
Senator Hawkins Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1018 on third reading and final passage and ask for your support.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of House Bill 1018 on third reading and final passage. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excuse, House Bill 1018 is passed. Co-sponsors: Senators Winter, Kolker, Rankin, Moreno, Danielson, Janal, Buckner, Lee, Story, Patterson. Please add the President. And Senator Priola. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 072?
Senate Bill 72 by Senators Hansen and Corbin, Representatives Valdez A. and Caitlin, concerning the expansion of electric transmission facilities to enable Colorado to meet its clean energy goals, and in connection therewith creating the Colorado Electric Transmission Authority, requiring the transmission utilities to join organized wholesale markets and allowing additional classes of transmission utilities to obtain revenue through the collocation of broadband facilities within their existing rights-of-way.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 72 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of Senate Bill 072 on third reading and final passage. Are there any no votes? Senators Sonnenberg, Kirkmeyer, Scott, Lundin, Woodward, Liston, with a vote of 28 ayes, 6 no votes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 072 is passed. Co-sponsors: Senators Simpson, Bridges, Winter, Hawkins Lewis, Priola, Rankin, Pedersen, will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 173?
Senate Bill 173 by Senators Gonzalez and Moreno and Representatives Caravello and Gonzalez Coteras, concerning rights related to residential rental agreements and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 173 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask permission to run a third reading amendment.
Will the good senator from Douglas County please explain to the body why we should give you permission to offer a third reading amendment?
Thank you, Mr. President. Be happy to. Members, yesterday there were several amendments offered to the bill. One was deemed to be outside the title. There was a cow run on that amendment. Having previously, in my life prior to being elected, worked on issues related to real estate finance, I looked at the amendment, and it was my opinion that it really wouldn't do a lot or much, maybe nothing, if it involved a mortgage loan on a non-owner occupied residence. Generally, those mortgages are held by federally chartered financial institutions, banks, or subsidiaries, and guess what we don't regulate? Federally chartered banks and their subsidiaries. In hearing from the lending community, there are lenders who are not federally chartered. And I didn't take that much into consideration yesterday. I voted yes on the cow, and I am asking permission to run an amendment to reverse that cow that I supported, because I think it actually could lead to less lending of non-owner occupied mortgage loans. And we don't want that. So a non-owner occupied, compared to what you have on your house, if you live in your house, you have an owner occupied residential mortgage loan, and there's different lending criteria for non-owner occupied. You might consider those commercial loans, but this amendment, if you give me permission, would reverse that cow and ask for an aye vote.
The question before the body is to allow the senator from Douglas County permission to offer a third reading amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, permission is granted. There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read? Amendment L026.
Amendment L026.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move L026.
To the amendment, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, members, this amendment would reverse the cow from yesterday. It would simply strike that language from the bill. Again, the motivation that I have is to make sure that non-owner occupied mortgage loans are not limited. I am still frustrated by the bill itself. But I would ask your support for L026 so that we don't inadvertently, unintentionally interfere with the access to mortgage lending for non-owner occupied mortgage loans in Colorado. Ask for an aye vote.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I would encourage a yes vote on this amendment. I do appreciate the homework that the senator from Douglas County has done in the time since the amendment was adopted. Appreciate his expertise in this area. We had, I thought, fairly clearly established that the amendment didn't fit under the title, but now you have the added effect of perhaps that it places requirements on loans that we don't actually regulate at the state level. So again, more to the story that complicates the situation, but I do encourage an aye vote and appreciate the amendment.
Senator Lundin.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I, too, rise in support of the amendment. Our process is so very, very interesting. At times we race ahead at the speed of light. At times we sit and stand and wait. And this unevenness in process sometimes produces an interesting result. Yesterday, you heard me speak at length about unintended consequences, and I argued against the unintended consequence of making rooftops over people's lives more scarce, and I believe the bill still, 173, will do that. Unfortunately, as we look deeper into this root issue that the minority leader just spoke about, that potentially could, in fact, have an unintended consequence of restricting access to capital and therefore rooftops over people's heads. So I rise in support of the amendment, supported on principle, acknowledge that I was adamantly opposed to the bill, vigorously in favor of the amendment yesterday, and today I think it's a time for a yes vote to, in fact, remove that amendment that we added on through the cow. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is there further discussion on Amendment L026? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of this amendment. Are there any, the adoption of this amendment L026 to Senate Bill 173, are there any no votes? Senators Kirkmeyer, Quorum, Sonnenberg. With a vote of 31 ayes, 3 no votes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Amendment L026 is adopted. To the bill, Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I renew my call for the passage of Senate Bill 173 as amended.
Seeing Senator Gonzalez. Is there further discussion? Senator Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thought of this yesterday after we walking down the street, and I don't know, I don't understand, because let's say the landlord can't pay the mortgage, and it ends up in foreclosure. What is the status of the renter? Because the renter does not have a contract with the bank at this time. So are they evicted then, or what's the story?
Is there further discussion regarding Senate Bill 173? Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. To answer the good senator from Montrose's question, The timelines are far different. The foreclosure process generally takes at least 6 months, whereas renters are in a much more precarious situation. Colleagues, stable housing is an essential piece of individual and community health. When a tenant is evicted, loss of housing can fuel cycles of multi-generational poverty. In addition to losing a home, families experience damaged credit, which can lead to an inability to find new housing. Another consequence to an eviction can be homelessness and negative physical and mental health outcomes. There is lots of evidence out there that eviction is not just a condition of poverty, it is a cause of poverty. And as is true in almost every single policy that we will consider under this dome, race and gender are significant players in this, significant factors in this discussion. In 2021, race still predicts one's likelihood of experiencing rental cost burdens, homelessness, and living in low opportunity neighborhoods of concentrated poverty. This impact is felt especially among women. In certain neighborhoods in my district and across our state, eviction is to women what incarceration is to men. Incarceration locks men up while evictions lock women out. Colleagues, Senate Bill 173 addresses the disproportionate impacts that uneven laws regarding our eviction processes wield against thousands of families across our state, a burden most heavily carried by women of color. Standing up to make our eviction processes more fair is essential to making Colorado more equitable for everyone. And colleagues, it's why I am so proud to carry alongside the good senator from Commerce City, Senate Bill 173. All too often, and particularly in low-income communities of color, women are the sole financial providers for their families. Having to work, support the family, and to be the primary provider and caretaker is a heavy burden for one person. So add to that the stress of being displaced, the threat of a rent increase, the constantly increased pressure of displacement, accompanied by an impending separation from established community, in order to make room for renters who can afford a higher rent. That's a lot. It's a common story in my community, and the collective weight of inaction is, to be frank, crushing women and children and families. And so we have to consider Senate Bill 173 within the context of our social landscape and the role of women, particularly women of color, within it. Although housing insecurity impacted communities of color long before the pandemic and its ensuing economic crisis, the pandemic has only exacerbated those existing inequalities. And so for me, it's important to think about my role as a Chicana legislator, rooted in community and working alongside community to develop a different vision. Because our health, our well-being, and our survival depend on it. Senate Bill 173, colleagues, will keep Coloradans housed. It will create more equity and parity and transparency in our landlord and tenant laws here in this state. This measure is one small step towards moving the needle on deep-rooted racial inequities that exist in the housing industry today, that have existed in the housing industry for generations, and hopefully, with the passage of this bill, will be a step towards race no longer predicting these inequalities. Colleagues, I ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 173? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 173. Are there any no votes? Senators Scott, Lundin, Gardner, Minority Leader, Sonnenberg, Heisey, Rankin, Quorum, Simpson, Liston, Priola, Smallwood, Woodward, Kirkmeyer, Cook. With 19 aye votes, 15 no votes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 173 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Rodriguez, Danielson, Winter, Pedersen, Hawkes Lewis, Story, Buckner, Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay over the general order second reading of bills until tomorrow, April 15th.
The motion is to lay over the general order second reading of bills calendar until 4/15/21. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. Consideration of resolutions. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Joint Resolution 016?
Senate Joint Resolution 16 by Senators Lundin and Representative Gray concerning the designation of the Interstate 25 Bridge over the 17th Avenue as the Richard R.J. Lawrence Bridge.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Joint Resolution 016 lay over until April 21st.
The motion is that Senate Joint Resolution 016 lay over until 4/21/21. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. Consideration of House amendments. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 059?
Senate Bill 59 by Senators Lee and Gardner, Representative Gonzalez, Gutierrez, and Geithner, concerning the reorganization of the Juvenile Justice Code in Article 2 of Title 19 Colorado Revised Statutes by the Colorado Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Council as authorized by House Joint Resolution 18-1013.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 59. Rather reluctantly, I might say.
Will the senator tell the body why we should concur with House amendments on Senate Bill 059?
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 59, you will recall, is the Juvenile Justice Reorganization Bill, which is some pages long. I don't think the rules require that or allow that it be read at length when we consider House amendments. Basically, there are a series of non-substantive amendments, and we have verified that they're non-substantive. This bill, actually, because of the subject, has been in play with another bill on juvenile justice, because this bill is to be non-substantive, and it needs to ensure that any changes we make to juvenile justice while we're at it this year get incorporated properly. And so we've worked very carefully with the Office of Legislative Legal Services to see that that is the case, and that is primarily the reason for House amendments, which we actually appreciate at this time and ask that the Senate concur.
Is there further discussion? Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, all kudos and praise go to our legal services staff who went over this 300 and whatever page bill multiple times and found these 12.5 changes to be made to make sure this thing is precisely right. Again, as my colleague said, these are all non-substantive changes, but they just make the red books precisely accurate. So we would ask for your aye vote on it.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is that the Senate concur with House amendments on Senate Bill 059. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, that motion is adopted. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the repassage of Senate Bill 59.
Motion is for the repassage of Senate Bill 059. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 059 is repassed. Co-sponsors. Senators Cook. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 066?
Senate Bill 66 by Senators Lee and Representative Michaelson Zake concerning juvenile diversion programs.
Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we concur with the work of the House.
Will the good senator please tell us why we should concur with House amendments on Senate Bill 066?
The House made a couple of small amendments to basically conform to the bill that we just repassed, Title 19, and also to make a conforming or another amendment to allow juveniles during data collection to the option to decline to disclose certain demographic information. So I ask for an aye vote on the concurrence.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is that the Senate concur with House amendments on Senate Bill 066. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, that motion is adopted. Senator Lee.
Thank you. I move for repassage of 66.
The motion is for the repassage of Senate Bill 066. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 066 is repassed. Co-sponsors. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 075?
Senate Bill 75 by Senators Gardner and Janal, Representatives Tipper and Young concerning supported decision-making agreements for adults with disabilities and in connection therewith authorizing such agreements as an alternative for or supplement to guardianship.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rather reluctantly, more than rather, with extreme reluctance, move that the Senate concur with House amendments.
Will the good senator please tell us why we should concur with House amendments on Senate Bill 075?
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, members, this is a very good bill. It's a bill to authorize and give some structure around supported decision-making agreements for adults with disabilities. In other words, an alternative to guardianship. And this bill sailed through the Senate. Then it got over to the House, and as my clients from time to time say to me, well, then the lawyers got involved. And the elder law bar, and I don't know whether when you refer to the elder law bar, whether that refers to the work they do or their age, they got involved with wordsmithing the legislative declaration and some other things. And I can't say that the amendments are not constructive, useful, or that there's anything wrong with them. I can't say that there is. It's like, okay. And in fact, that's what we said was, okay. And so given that okay, we ask that the Senate concur.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is that the Senate concur with House amendments on Senate Bill 075. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, that motion is adopted. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the repassage of Senate Bill 75.
The motion is for the repassage of Senate Bill 075. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 075 is repassed. Co-sponsors. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 130?
Senate Bill 130 by Senators Holbert and Pedersen and Representatives Van Winkle and Byrd concerning authorization for local governments to exempt business personal property from taxation.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Out of great love and appreciation for the humor of Monty Python, I move that the Senate concur with the House amendment to Senate Bill 130.
Will the minority leader please explain to this esteemed body why we should concur with House amendments on Senate Bill 130?
I would love to, Mr. President. Thank you. Mr. President, colleagues, if you would take out the re-revised version of Senate Bill 130 and turn to page 3, you will see, and this is where the Monty Python comes in. If you are familiar with Monty Python, some episodes started with a man struggling out of the sea or through briars and up to the camera, and he would say, "It's," and then it would go into the Monty Python entry music. And if you look at page 3, the House went out of its way to add the word "it's" to the bill. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is that the Senate concur with House amendments on Senate Bill 130. Are there any no votes? Mr. Majority Leader. Senators Liston, Gardner, Quorum,
All right.
Bridges, Sonnenberg,
Let's not go too far on this.
Kirkmeyer.
All right. You made your point.
Please add the president. With 26 aye votes, 8 no votes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, that motion is adopted. Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the repassage of Senate Bill 130.
The motion is for the repassage of Senate Bill 130. Are there any no votes? With the vote of 34 ayes, 0 no's, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 130 is repassed. Co-sponsors. Announcements. Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now that I'm fully aware that today is Wednesday and yesterday wasn't Wednesday, I would like to remind folks that AG will be meeting upon adjournment in, let's just say 10 o'clock in the old Supreme Court. Thank you, friends.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Education Committee will meet today upon adjournment in room 357. We will be hearing one bill, Senate Bill 232. We will not be hearing House Bill 1067. Thank you.
Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Judiciary Committee will be meeting at 10 o'clock also in the SCR 352 to hear 4 bills, 1015, 1107, 1165, and 1136. See you then. Thank you.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Health and Human Services Committee will meet at 1:30. We're hearing 2 bills, Senate Bill 194 and House Bill 1187. See you at 1:30.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. A moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Good morning, colleagues. Today, we are pleased to announce the release of the 2021 Colorado Golf Coalition Economic and Environmental Impact Study, which details all the positive impacts golf industry has on our state. And in support, I'm wearing my golf socks today. In your mailboxes, you're going to find a one page with a QR code should you want to access the full report. To mark this occasion, we want to read highlights from the report with the following tribute. In 2019, Colorado's direct golf industry contributed $1.7 billion annually to the state's economy, supporting just over 19,400 jobs and generating $696.5 million in wage income and $166.5 million in state and local taxes. Of Colorado's 236 golf courses, 76% are public. Golf provides affordable, inclusive outdoor recreation to tens of thousands of Coloradoans.
And colleagues, for those of you bold enough to get out of the golf cart, you'll find that golf courses provide nearly 5 miles of exercise from walking an 18-hole course, and is part of a healthy lifestyle providing outdoor and social engagement for people of all ages. Our golf courses maintain over 33,000 acres of green space that supports wildlife habitats, reduces the urban heat island effect, and filters surface water runoff. In addition, turf grass, landscaping, and trees on golf courses remove air pollutants that can endanger human health while using less than 1% of the state's annual water consumption, and 96.6% of golf courses have at least 3 or more water conservation measures in place. Further, golf courses have a waste diversion rate of almost 56% compared to 17% rate for the state.
Golf is a powerful forum for charity fundraising, with 1,960 golf events played, raising over $35.6 million for various charities in 2019. The positive impacts of golf to the state are evident and will continue to grow year after year. So on the request of Senator John Cook and Senator Jim Smallwood, given this 14th day of April 2021, State Capitol, Denver, Colorado, signed Leroy M. Garcia, President of the Senate.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank the two senators for the most senatorial 5 minutes that I think I've had in this chamber in defense of golf. Thank you, senators.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members, 156 years ago tonight, the first Republican president took his wife to see a play. They'd come through 4 years of struggle of the Civil War, and it was finally time for a little rest and relaxation. April 1865 is one of the most event-filled months of history in the history of our nation. On April 4th, 1865, Abraham Lincoln, our president, entered what was then the capital of the Confederacy. It had fallen. President Lincoln entered Richmond and was heralded as Father Abraham. 5 days later, Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, Virginia. April 9th. And then on April 14th, President Lincoln took his wife to see a play. Our American Cousin, I think, was the name of that play. And then an assassin slipped into the box where they were sitting and shot President Lincoln in the back of his head. The president was carried across the street where he struggled through the night. And then the next morning, he breathed his last and died. On April 24th, the assassin was apprehended in a place called Port Royal, Virginia. And Union cavalry surrounded the tobacco barn where he was hiding. He was shot. And when the assassin was drug out of that barn, he looked at his hands and, if I remember correctly, mumbled to himself, "Worthless, worthless." I have to agree. Members, you know that history is something that I love, I cherish. Tonight at 6 to 6:05 p.m., if you would, just pause and remember the first Republican president of this nation, so that his life might not have been given in vain, to use his words at Gettysburg, that this nation might have a new birth of freedom, and that government of, by, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further announcements. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a couple of bills to read across this afternoon. You don't need to be here. I move that the Senate recess until 11 a.m. today.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will stand in a recess until 1100 hours today.